Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's edition of the Maconi Setup Shop A-Fix Tutorials. This week we are looking at the Monster Mile known as the Dover International Speedway, so strap in and let's get to it. I don't even know where to begin with this one. We'll start with the shifting as always. Shifting down into fourth gear, entering the corners, and then shifting into fifth on the straightaways. I do think that as the run goes on, I don't know exactly what point, but I do think you're going to be able to get away with running fourth gear if you do plan to run the bottom. However, given how the Coke Series race went, I do think that you're going to be moving up throughout the run. It's going to make passing really difficult, and I do think you're still going to need fifth gear because of the amount of speed that you'll be able to carry off the high side on exit. You're going to be hitting the chip really, really soon, but if you're running the bottom, I think fourth gear is going to be okay. In terms of the setup, holy edgy. I don't know another word for it. I can't even tell you how rough the first few runs were for me. As you can see right there, that lap three going into three, that chatter, the front tires. I don't know if it's just because of how the front end is set up or what have you, but I feel like if you overdrive it at all, the front tires just bounce like crazy and they do not want to grip up. So I find, for me anyway, that the more consistent laps I ran was me backing up the entry more than I envisioned or more than I thought I would have to eliminate that bounce, keep the front wheels responsive, and get through the corner. I mean, I've never really had a lot of success at this place. I've had help from a lot of teammates try to figure it out over the years, and uh, I felt like I had a pretty good handle of it in the truck. Never liked it in the Gen 6 car. Still don't like it now. I'll be the first one to tell you Dover is my least favorite oval, and that hasn't changed at all since my time on the service. It is nice that you can move around though. The problem is with the tires, and again, I'm going to go back to the Coke race just from what I got to see from that. Um, Impossible to pass on the bottom. Okay, even if somebody's really melted their tires, the fast lane up top is still fast enough to really hinder you on the bottom, and you have to be so precise on the bottom. You cannot be aggressive. If you get into the gas way too soon, you're just going to plow. Uh, if you try to get on it, even when you're coming off the corner on late exit and you just mash it, it can still dance on you, and you know how much of a pain it is to save this car once it gets out of control. The independent rear suspension, there's not a whole lot to lean on back there, so it makes it really tough. Track position is going to be everything. I'm not going to say you can't make passes. I do think you'll be able to. It's just going to be very, very difficult. Okay. You see these laps that I'm running here up top. Again, with how much grip is in the tires, it's hard to really demonstrate how fast the top's going to be. But the reason I'm showing you this is because what I like to do here, and I'm not necessarily sure if it's entirely right, it just makes it a lot easier. When I'm running the top, I like to come down off the wall on exit because the exits here, especially off of 2 and 4, that wall just jumps out and grabs you when you least expect it. Okay, so if you're able to point the car down the hill and then start building power, in theory, you should give yourself a lot of room to the outside wall. And as long as you're not hustling it too much, you shouldn't have to worry about getting tight and hitting the outside wall. Speaking of getting tight, what I wanted to go over, the way I try to get around here and what I learned, especially in the truck, is when you get to the middle of the corner, even if you've overdriven it, don't crank wheel into it. But if you find that you're getting tight, again, do not crank wheel into it. You can work the throttle and get it to rotate. That quarter to half throttle, I find, really helps the car and the truck rotate. Um, it's a big thing for here, especially with how the tires wear. I mean, you're going to go through a right front pretty badly. A lot of guys in the Coke race were burning off right rears, but again, that's an open setup. Um, Getting onto pit road, this is one of the trickiest pit roads that you can try to get onto. Again, this is 10 lap old tires, all right, but it's what I've been doing in every car since I started on here. As soon as I start braking for turn 3, that's my pit road entrance. I am not coming off the brakes. I'm trying to woe it down, keeping it on the bottom so you don't run up into anybody. Um, Getting all the way down to first gear and making sure that when you do cross that transition on the apron, that you're slowed down enough to where you don't hit it awkwardly and bottom the car out and then spin, because that will happen in this car. And again, trying to run the top here, just trying to let the car do as much of the work as possible. I'm not cranking wheel into it. I'm trying to use the throttle to rotate it down the hill. And I'm not full throttle until I'm on the straights, just because of how edgy this setup is for me. And again, this is single car too, and I feel like I'm just bouncing all over the place. So I can't even imagine how, I don't want to say miserable, but I can't imagine how hard it's going to be in traffic when you factor in dirty air and other people around you. It should make for more green flag racing because of how, if it is going to be this hard to drive, maybe I'm driving it like a complete bot. I have no idea. I got a lot of laps around here, not particularly a ton in the next gen car, but if it is this edgy to drive in the race, people in theory should be giving each other more room, which could result in green flag laps, which really puts a premium on taking care of your stuff and not making mistakes. And the way you make mistakes here, one is hitting the apron in the corners. That'll upset the car, and two is just hustling it. Okay, again, this is a racetrack where you can get in trouble in a hurry if you're not paying attention. One more thing to go over real quick, especially with the line when running the bottom. There's two ways, and I feel like I've touched on this before when I've covered Dover, but there's two ways really that you can get around the bottom. One is wrapping, and two is a diamond. Okay, wrapping is you slow your entry down enough to when you get to the center, you are still pinned right up along this apron. Okay, it is slower, but it's a better way to save tires essentially because you're not going to put as much heat on it. You're not going to be cranking as much wheel. The other way is the diamond, okay, and that's going into the corner and then coming up to about this seam here that we're just crossing over. All right, and I like to try to line this window brace up with it. Little less brake, less wheel input. You're still going to be using the throttle to rotate the car. Okay, and again, when I talk about that, I don't I don't recommend you guys turning any extra wheel than you have to. Just quarter throttle in that range, okay? And you'll feel the car rotate. But you got to be careful because if you do crank wheel and still use a quarter throttle, it's really going to rotate, okay? And then as you can see here, trying to get on pit road, look at my speed. Like I've been braking this entire time, slowing the car down, and then once I see the sand pits here, that's when I want to start turning down. Okay. Tire wear for this run, as you can see, 91.89. That's only 10 laps, guys, and that's single car. Okay, so you can only imagine what it's going to be like in the race. Um, Again, Coke Series race, a lot of guys were having issues with flat right rear tires. Um, I would imagine this is going to be about the same. This place is hard on tires. It's great to see that we've got a lot of tire wear, so it's something that you got to keep in mind. Okay, drive for the long run. If you get a caution late in the race and long run doesn't matter, then by all means drive it to the best of your abilities, get what you can out of it. Um, but for the most part, when you race around here, like Darlington, I like to race the racetrack more than anything else because to me, that's how I stay out of trouble. And again, this place is really easy to get in trouble here. Okay, guys, that'll just about do it for this week's video. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down below and I will get to them throughout the week. If you find that this video was helpful, please consider leaving a like. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can see these videos every Monday when they're posted on the Maconi YouTube page. Best of luck this week, and we'll see you on the track.